Hey, 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 it's Saturday. You may not recognize me because I have a jacket on. It's the first time in a long time it's been cold enough and raining enough. Hey, look at Mark Birnbaum. First in the house, the incredible Catch Hospitality Group. One of my just amazing associates there. And let's bring him on live. Go ahead, load me up with some questions. I'm gonna get Mark right in here as people line up and come in. I don't know if you are familiar with Mark, but he is an extraordinary entrepreneur. And Mark, why don't you go ahead, request to join, because I'd love to see you in here. And we'll get a request out to you. There we go. That's so easy. All right. Happy Saturday, everyone. I am just blessed to have Mark here with me on a Saturday night. You know that's not happening all the time. Here we go. Hey,
How are ya?
I am doing great, man. Has anyone ever told you you look like a younger, better looking Stephen Costello?
If I had a nickel. No,
No, that's awesome, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I
I'm
wanted to be punctual, so right at 4 o'clock. I tuned in just in
you,
case.
you're a hospitality guy. You are understanding the importance of time and experience. And one of the experiences that we want to have is to be on time. And you know that with the restaurants you own and the hospitality and experience that you help people develop. So I kind of want to go through that because I think people who are experts at understanding the value of experience really do well, whether it's at coffee, whether it's with food, drinks, clubs, bars, or even just a show. I think people discount the emotional attachment and how it can impact the value that we perceive when we're purchasing or attending something. You know, where did that uh, skill set really come about for you, Mark, understanding the importance of experience?
I think, just being a customer, and appreciating. It's kind of like movies. Like when I saw a great movie, I thought to myself, "Oh, this is a great movie. I wonder if anybody else agrees with me." And then that movie won an Oscar. I think of like remember sitting watching, like Forrest Gump for the first time, or Good Will Hunting, or movies like that, where I was like, is this like? I remember looking at my friend while watching Forrest Gump in the movie theater, and I turned to him and I was like, is this like the best movie you've ever seen? And they're like, I think so. And then everyone seemed to enjoy. So the point is that if you're a customer that enjoys things, and if in my situation, which is really regarding food, Eugene, who's my partner, who we really started together in the food business, and we always said the same thing, which is we are our demographic. And all that really meant is that we're not trying to pretend to be something we're not. We're not trying to create something that we ourselves would not be customers of. Quite the opposite. We're customers, and therefore we think we have somewhat of a finger on the pulse of what our demographic would also enjoy. So, I'm not Italian, and I'm not, trying to create like the greatest authentic Italian concept necessarily. Not to say that we couldn't do it as entrepreneurs along with an incredible Italian chef, and one day maybe we hope to do that. But we started with sort of good old American sort of food mixed with, some Asian influence, but also global influence. So that came from our travels. That came from our experience of, whatever limited experience we had, in eating out in New York or in other parts of the world. We also looked at like, why was Nobu successful? And we had answers for that. And why was that sort of style of dining not necessarily done with seafood, which sort of brought us into the catch side? More shareable, more interactive, more fun, more engaging, where it's not just a food experience, it's a full service experience, which was food, service, and vibe, which all three of those paired together is very difficult actually to accomplish. But when you do authentically, it seems to work.
It's interesting now that we have this amplification through digital content because, you have your neighborhoods in New York, you were up in West Hollywood and, in LA, and there's a certain vibe, right? There's a certain vibe to these areas. Well, now that's extended, right? We have the ability, if you're not in these major metropolitan areas, to get exposure, where now I see a lot more types of experiences that are available in kind of secondary cities, you know, that have taken on a much more robust vibe and experience by, like you, learning from
Yeah.
Catch, learning from Nobu, learning from all of these different other things where they were always around that vibe. Now, I think because of digital content, you can be in Indianapolis and have a vibe, and people will come from when they're in that town to go to that place because of the digital frequency that's available. How else has digital content helped with what was really a localized vibe that became a word of mouth vibe, which now can become a content vibe?
I mean, okay, so well, to just start a little bit from the beginning, um, when we started Instagram, social media, and all of the, especially even when I started, when I look back to, my college days, really, when it was like my first experience of throwing parties in New York City or upstate in Ithaca, New York, that was the days of like creating a flyer on print shop, going to Kinko's, printing flyers, cutting them in fours because, one page made four invites, saved money that way. The biggest thing was like, what stock paper are you using? If it was really hard to bend, it was expensive, but flimsy was inexpensive. And then my promoters of those days were uh, pledges of fraternities, who was free labor essentially from Cornell to Ithaca, and made them flyer the parking lots if they wanted to get in for free. The frat brothers, it was like, go flyer the parking lots on Thursday about Friday's party, put a flyer under every single dorm room door, go to every, fraternity house and drop off some, drink tickets or whatever. And that's what created the word of mouth then. Trans, 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 transmit yourself,
20 years.
yeah, about that. Time flew.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, I was mentoring Jason Strauss since he was 15 years old at Riverdale High School with my cousin Eric. So I'm like ancient. I am an ancient warrior.
it's all good. He's older than me, and I'll let him know it every time I'll see him.
Yeah.
Um, but those guys, Jason, Noah, Richie Kiva in the city of New York, they were certainly people I looked up to, followed. And when I say followed, I mean actually followed. Like I went there. I didn't watch them on internet, on Instagram. I followed these people to understand what they were doing without even realizing that I'd be in this career, in nightlife, hospitality, etc. But to answer your question about digital, it's made the world smaller. Obviously, it's incredibly important to anybody's business nowadays. It doesn't matter what you're selling, or what business you're in. You could be an airline, you could be a cruise line, you could be, Disney, and digital is extremely important, obviously. So big to small. For us, it shrank the world and it allowed our mountaintop to just be that much taller to reach, further out in the world to scream from. I used to say we got to scream for them, but tallest mountaintop to get the word out. And, Instagram or Facebook or just social media and digital in general made it a lot easier. It also made the space a lot more crowded, right? So like anybody with a phone or a computer can really make noise for themselves. And so now yeah, you can reach a further audience, but now there's tiers to that. Like, how do you separate yourself from the pack? How do you come off, quality, or how does the message that you're kind of trying to portray about your brand, um, be truthful to how it's being read by the audience? And that audience is generally, let's say, your customer. So customer A walks into your store and you're hoping that what you want them to tell for you as somewhat of an advertisement to their world of following and their inner circle, which is actually not your inner circle, will they deliver the message you're trying to portray authentically? And how we do that is, through environment, whether it's our entrance way with, a beautiful arrival moment, or it's sort of a surprise in New York. You go up an elevator and you're sort of wowed by this, opening of an elevator in Catch Original, or OG as we refer to it. Catch Steak in New York City, long pathway, similar to what we have at Catch LA, and certainly what we have in Catch Vegas at Aria, which are these wow moment entryways, which our belief was, just set the tone. You're transferring yourself from your everyday life in the streets of New York or Vegas or LA or wherever our restaurants are. And you're leaving that behind you when you come through the door. What does that really mean? Like we've always felt like, isn't it nice to feel like you're on vacation in your own backyard? Um, do you have to go to a Napa winery or a French, countryside to want to take a picture of something beautiful? So that sort of work. We also do it through food presentation and desserts, but not to go too long, but that's very important because when Instagram tells us, hey, congratulations, you're the most Instagrammed and tagged restaurant in the country. You're Catch LA, and probably Catch Vegas is probably number two. Um, that's meaningful these days because it means that, our mountaintop has reached a huge audience of people. And when you have 400 seats to fill, when you're allowed to fill them, by the way, which is a whole nother topic that we can't seat people anymore, is very important for longevity. And filling the seats on the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. when it's not, of course, everyone wants to go out on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, but how do you fill your seats on Sunday for brunch or Saturday for brunch or early diners during the week? That comes from reaching a massive audience and use of technology and also just traditional word of mouth is extremely important,
And you guys
essential.
and you guys have done such a great job in creating, that experience and building, that vibe and building the community because it really is a catch community in your hospitality group. It's a community. What are you thinking? You're ahead of the curve and you were kind of alluding to, well, maybe someday we'll do an Italian and we'll get the Italian chef and do this. But moreover, I'm interested in, we have the pandemic, you've implemented
Yeah.
some QR codes, there's all types of restrictions determined upon what city it's in. But we're going to get past this, and all the restaurants are going to fill back up, even the ones that went out of business. Somebody else is going to come in with their mama's recipe, or to be the lookalike to Mark yourself. What are you looking at in the future and strategizing and saying, people are using their phones, or are there certain things that you're looking at to
Mm-hmm.
create an experience that nobody else has? Looking and seeing in the next 5 or 10 years how people will dine because it has changed a bit, probably will change a bit as we get through this. But what are you looking at to determine a new experience or the next best experience?
It's a it's a it's an interesting time, especially in the hospitality industry. I think everybody now is pretty aware, in the whole country, how difficult the hospitality, not just restaurants, hotels, travel, but specifically hotels and restaurants, small businesses have been hit by this pandemic. And, the benefit of age and, I don't think I've got wisdom yet, but I do have experience. And, I've lived through some interesting times, and so has my partner Eugene with me side by side. One of those was September 11th, being in Manhattan, down the street from the World Trade Center when that happened, was uh, a shift in my timeline of life. From I was on one timeline, that happened. I was very close to it when it happened, not in danger, but the fact that I was there to see it, smell it, firsthand was more than enough to shift your perspective on life in general. Followed by 2008, the crash of '08, and now today a pandemic. So if those are my three, I would say for this being my third, where I'm living in it now, I look backwards and say what happened, in the time in downtown Manhattan, September 11th, the chaos and the destruction that was downtown. People thought, I'm out of here. I'm never coming back to Manhattan. They thought New York City would never be the same. They thought America wouldn't be the same. They thought business would never be back. People wouldn't live there. And I agreed. I thought, yeah, I think that this is it. They're right. How do you come back from that? And the reality is that, first of all, people, human beings, for better or worse, have short-term memory. They also don't dwell. They look forward. It's a survival instinct. I'm pretty sure of it. And as a result, they overcome what we think could be the end. It is not. Um, in in '08, that crash, Eugene and I were just building our first restaurant right when Lehman Brothers fell. Uh, you know, I will never forget because we had We just kind of put our first hammer into the walls to destroy this old place and make it a new one. And we were like, my God, we weren't really even paying attention to stock markets. I think we were 28 and 29 years old. And, we did not know what was going on. I call it the Forrest Gump effect, to bring up Forrest Gump again, in that he was, kind of ignorant but good and really wanted to keep his word. And as a result, he was a shrimping boat captain and he was doing it. And he wasn't aware of this storm coming, but the experienced shrimping boat captains were. They knew about the weather and they knew about the storm, but they were smart. So they stayed on the shore. And smart meant I'm going to play it safe and probably do what I'm supposed to do, which is not go out into the storm. Forrest Gump was not smart or sophisticated about it. He went out into the storm blindly with ignorance, survived that storm, came back, his boat was intact. The rest of them got destroyed on the shore. And so what happened is that he was really the only game in town, and therefore was the big shrimping boat, tycoon, shrimping tycoon, Bubba Gump Shrimp. Shout out to Tillman, who owns Bubba Gump Shrimp today.
That's my boy.
Yeah. And the reason I say that as an example of today and what we learned in '08, we also were ignorant. We were also sort of blind with just Midas touch, we'll be successful, we're young, who cares? We had somewhat of a plan, but the fact of the matter is we went ahead with our plan. When the storm cleared of '08, it wasn't the Great Depression. It wasn't as bad as everyone thought. It was bad, and it did not recover. And I don't think really we ever really recovered in the way that nightclubs used to be with bottle service and all that stuff. But things were okay. And when they became better, by the time we were opening, the clouds cleared. People looked out their windows. Okay, it's not destroyed. Everything's safe. And boy, would I like to get out there again. And they sure did. And we were one of the first people to be new in a time where things got better. Today, far worse of an experience than anything we've experienced in terms of length of time, obviously death and fear and shutdowns of travel and all the things. I don't have to rehash what the hell's going on. But, again, our first response is recoil, play it safe, figure out what's going on. The first time I ever heard the word furlough, what does that mean? We've got, hundreds and hundreds of employees in different parts of the country. And how do we deal with that? There's emotion involved, there's psychiatry involved, you become sort of a mama bear to a lot of people. Once the shock and awe wore off, it's still bad, but you start thinking, and I guess you put your entrepreneur hat on, and your experience that I'm referring to of the last two examples sort of kicks in and says, what happens next? Is it tomorrow? Maybe not. Is it next year? Maybe not. But at some point, will it be back? And we believed yes, and therefore we're doubling down on our industry now to open more restaurants in 21. So we'll announce officially Monday what and where, but we're expanding Catch Steak to the West Coast in 2 locations. And hopefully we will be opening at the time that's exactly right or close to right, to where the world sort of starts to come back. And if we're wrong, we're going to have to sit on it a little bit, and that's a risk we're willing to take. However, if we're right, then we believe that the world will continue to spin, and we are not going to get worse, but we are going to get better, and we have to think that way. And I think the customers out there, the people, which I'm one of them, is itching to get back at it, right? So food and hospitality, vacation, but specifically restaurants, is where we all, anybody watching this, anybody you talk to, loves life, hopefully, and wants to, socialize and obviously eat to survive. So where you choose to do that is one thing. I just am a firm believer that restaurants is a huge part of American society and global society. When people travel all over the world, they ask really 2 questions. Where do I stay and where should I go to eat? Anywhere, Japan, Tahiti, it doesn't matter where you're going. Those are the 2 common questions that I always get. Where should I go? Where should I go to dinner? Where do I go to brunch? Whatever. So in New York City, Las Vegas, LA, Aspen, Colorado, wherever it's going to be, Miami, people are certainly asking those questions. And I hope that people recommend our restaurants as a place to go to stop at because of the food service and vibe experience. You don't get it in your backyard or in Indianapolis, like you said, or in some other state or even uptown. You
Right.
come downtown. So that's what we strive to be, the go-to answer to that question from the majority of people. And to give people that like sort of, you know what? They're opening, they're hiring 300 more people in each town. Great. That's an investment into our industry, not a closing, not firing, but hiring and opening. And to me, that's the best we can do. And hopefully it helps the rest of our industry who's struggling to get that feeling back of like things are coming back. I'm happy to be the canary in the coal mine, perhaps. But I believe in our society. I believe in forwardness and I believe in things getting better. And it may take time, but that's all it's going to be. It's going to take time. When it is, I can't tell you, but it is sooner than later, I hope.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think historically, comparatively, what's going on now, it has one advantage over all those other circumstances, whether it was 91, 93, 97, 2001, whatever it was,
Hmm.
is that we get glimpses during this pandemic when they open up something, right? So as someone that's been an operator for over 20 years, somebody that has run the greatest hospitality group, perhaps maybe in the world, but for sure in the United States, with what you've done experientially with cuisine, lifestyle, all the things that I see as an entrepreneur. And, I strictly stay on the investment side, like Matt Higgins and Tillman. Tillman wrote the forward to my book. And I had this conversation. The only advantage right now, why I'm so excited about the space, is that anytime they open up any city and they allow you to go dine, right? Things fill up like it's never been full before. The club, everything. Now, there's dangers in that up, and we've seen what that does for the
I
pandemic.
just got off the phone with my friends who are in Miami, and they can't get into two restaurants. Like, can you help me get into this? To Swan or to,
Yeah.
I was like, it's mind-boggling that there's a
So
state in our country that's open as it is, and I don't want to like start debating why it should be and shouldn't be because I certainly agree that it should be, and not because we're reckless. Quite the opposite, actually. But to just tell you really quickly my point of
yeah,
view on it, it would be one thing if restaurants and gatherings safely in restaurants was the cause or is a contributing cause to the spread. It would be one thing if science and statistics and contact tracing pointed to that fact. And in the beginning, quite frankly, I thought maybe it would have been. And responsibly, sure, we should probably halt, gatherings of hundreds of people in a space, indoor or out. I don't know, because of being responsible for your staff and your guests. But it's the opposite of that. It's the opposite in that, first of all, no contract tracing, no statistic, no science, no evidence has been brought forth to show that, for starters, not because I say so, but because we've been searching for it. And number two to that, the contrary has happened. And the example I'm giving is on Thanksgiving, we had 450 reservations at Catch LA. Outdoor seating, by the way, retractable roof, 6 feet apart. Have to walk in with a mask, sit down, 6 people max, take your mask off as you're dining, and then, interact with masks and leave. We're very strict about that. And the reason we're strict, and in general, restaurants were strict, actually, probably the most guidelined industry there is in the world is restaurants, where contactless menus and rules and 6 feet apart and distance and how you can wait, no bar, no events, all that stuff we follow. And the only reason we really follow it is not so much because we're all such good people. It's because it's enforceable. Enforceable in that if we don't follow those rules, they can take away and we have loss, right? We can get sued by people potentially, of course, but really it's because the health department could take away our liquor license, they could fine us, there's penalty. And frankly, that's really why laws exist, right? Like, follow the rule because there's consequences to not following a rule, speed limits and otherwise. When they closed us the day before Thanksgiving, no dining outside in LA, for example, it took 450 people from my restaurant that were going to come in, regulated, enforced regulation, with really no gray area, just this is how it is and you must behave as safe as can be reasonably, to home regulation. So I'd call, 15 of those people that I knew that were supposed to come to dinner, and I said, "What's your plan?" They're like, "Oh, I'm just having 20 people at my house for Thanksgiving." So how does it go? They sit outside, maybe if they have outdoor space. Likely they're indoors. They start with a mask on. They start with some social distancing, maybe. But then they start eating and they get lazy and they get uncomfortable. It's weird. You're going to tell someone to put a mask on in your own home. It doesn't really work that way. There's no enforcement. And so you see the spike and the spread go crazy. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Yeah, I believe wholeheartedly, and hopefully there will be an actual study to really contact trace it, and it's coming out a bit, there's been articles, that the closure of restaurants, indoor and out, has been the cause of the most highly spread spike we've seen throughout this entire thing. It is a total absurdity. Even in my own home, I watch it happen. Restaurants are part of the public space, therefore are responsible. Forget about the fact that we're sitting on airplanes with 100% capacity since the beginning. Yeah, they walk in with a mask and then they start eating and chomping at 4 seconds in, even if they want to drink their own water or snack, with no regard, directly next to each other in a capsule.
Yeah.
So it seems very targeted, very unfair, and really unfortunate. It's like, I'm not crying, oh, it's unfair. It's just so unfortunate that this entire industry is really getting hurt. People that work their entire lives, generationally, to put food on the table, clothes on the backs of their children, education. The employees that work within them are hundreds of them, millions of them. They're a third or a fourth of the entire workforce in the country, and with no regard. And still to this moment, LA, even New York, has not made a mention of what the plan is. When will they reopen? Anything. Even if they said, "Hey, we're gonna do it because we're stupid, but the numbers have to be X, so just keep watching and at least be prepared." Nothing. And it's offensive. And it's a knock on our industry, sorry, but it's a knock on our industry because we are not organized enough, whether it's through lobby or by threat as well, because clearly the airline industry knows what they're doing. Clearly big box, McDonald's and those bigger ones, and department stores.
The strip clubs, I couldn't believe in San Diego. The strip clubs were open. My mom, she wanted to go to the governor's regulations. I couldn't go visit my mom, so I told my brother, the rabbi, pick her up. I'll meet her at the strip club because they're open per the governor's request, right? Those are the things that were shocking.
That I didn't know about, but
yeah, crazy, right?
I kind of agree with that. So I'm fine with the strip clubs. But yeah, it's just like it's something that's like a wake up. Like we need to, really get together as an enormous industry, the way the movie business is done, the way, film crews are going on and on. Oh, of course. Well, as long as you do it safely, they say, go ahead and do it under your guidelines, fill them away. What have we done that is not saying we're going to follow a rule that we all kind of unanimously, okay, maybe not 100%, leave it at 50%, space out, whatever. I don't want to rant, but it's not just stupid, it's really harmful, specifically, not only to the business owner, but the thousands and millions of employees, especially the ones working the lines, working in the kitchens, bar backing, bus running. It's devastating. It is putting people on the street. We're seeing it ourselves. Yeah. We're doing something now with Catch. Returned our restaurant into essentially a army canteen where we're cooking 500 meals a day right now for the month of January to those in need, which I got private donations of $100,000 just for the month to bring back 10 employees to cook because they're skilled at it. We have the size of the kitchen to do it. We're capable. And then deliver 500 meals to the community at need, not homeless people, to people that need it. So yeah, sure, homeless people could be in that category, but these are just people that are unemployed, and the food lines are starting at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning in these neighborhoods. So we're feeding pretty much all of Watts, some of Skid Row, taking it to the Covenant House.
You see your boy Jason just popped on there. What? Jason Strauss couldn't help himself. See, I told you. You got
Strauss
three
is
Jews.
the commenter of all commenters. I do love
I
him,
had
and
to
I
interrupt.
do.
Sorry, I saw his name. I was
No,
like,
it's
no
fine.
way. But
But they're doing great stuff too with Tau Cares. I watch it. It's good that we are able to help where we can, but the help is so enormous that ultimately it's really you need governments to wake up, not only do better for the communities in need, mostly, but they also need to get people back to work safely. And I think that clearly there's a path to doing so because I got news. We were open for 5 months at whatever 50% capacity, and I didn't get one single phone call of someone saying I was at your restaurant. So was all my friends, and everyone got
right,
coronavirus. Quite the opposite. I had 100 people working there. We were precaution, and yeah, one or two or three people did get corona while working there. But guess what? When we asked them how they got it, is because they went to some stupid party at some airplane hangar, or they went to a
right.
concert that no one knew about, or a comedy show, or they were in a party at somebody's house from friends, and that's where they got it, and they brought it, and then we stopped it, and so there was no spread. Quite the
Right.
opposite. We figured out how we could feed, I don't know, probably 700 people a day, 7 days a week without incident.
Yeah. And then they go on a party bus and worry about your restaurant. Unbelievable. Well, now you guys have big news next week coming out. Everyone has to follow you. Uh, I can't wait to hear the specifics of what's going to be going on. I love the fact and the lesson that I've learned listening to you is one that I subscribe to, which is leaning in, right? I always love to be the counterintuitive entrepreneur when, for example, Sidney Frank, the legend who I worked with when I was young, always said, Dave, when the guy that's shining your shoes on the street is telling you stock tips, it's time to sell your stock. This is the time to lean in. I think people are going to, after being cooped up for so long, really want to experience what you've been able to provide over 2 decades, what Jason provides as well, and so many others, Tillman. And I think we're going to see a great resurgence. And if you're not building right now to prepare for that resurgence, personally, as an entrepreneur, I think you're making a huge mistake. And you've always seemed to land on top because you do have years of wisdom beyond your age. And I certainly appreciate you taking your Sabbath night here to join me for a few moments to share your knowledge.
I see a
So,
bunch of restaurant guys. You got Max Crespo at the
yeah, look at
Neapolitan
that Crespo.
Express. You got Strauss. I think David from EPLP is on there.
I
We're
needed Ming Tsai to join us. He's one of my favorites too, right?
No, absolutely. It's complicated, but it's certainly something that we will, I agree with you, overcome. And I do think if you can, this is the time to invest in the future, become leaner, right? Where we were doing it, before the pandemic, maybe we were a little bit bloated as a business, overspending in things that you didn't realize you could, be more efficient. There's benefit to that moving forward. Um, but yeah, I would say if you can, and I'm not saying that everyone necessarily can do it, but find ways to find opportunity. In the bad times is generally where the opportunity lies. You just have to really seek it out and don't, do it blindly. Do it with caution and thought. But um, we'll see, because in a year from now, I could just be telling you, man, we were wrong. Damn, we're in trouble. But I really hope not, because if we are, it really means that we're doomed on a greater level globally than we could understand. So let's all hope not. And if we're open and successful, and others are open and successful, and the restaurant businesses all over the country are humming again, or the world, then it is a very good indication that we're doing better, and we're
You did.
moving.
Well, I'll load it up. You can put my name down first for a party of 8 at all your restaurants. I'll just keep moving to make sure that this gets going so that everybody gets the flow because it is definitely, I think, going to happen. And that economy and experience that you provide is really important. And thank you again. I didn't mention this, but thank you for doing what you're doing here in January for all those people that are on furlough, that are unemployed, that just literally need a handout or a hand up to make it through this period of time before they can get back on their feet. It really means a lot. And all you entrepreneurs out there, think about what Mark's doing. It's really easy to, transform your own business to help other people. My favorite saying is be kind to your future self and do good deeds. You're being kind to your future self again and again and again. And your name and your brand speaks for itself. Thank you so much for joining me,
No,
Mark.
I appreciate it. We're doing it in New York as well. It's just, it's unfortunately something that business and private business needs to take more ownership in and not rely on government assistance all the time. Because A, they're big and slow, and this is an immediate, acute situation. So instead of scrambling around waiting, we scrambled around and figured out how to do a little bit that we could. And by no means, when you start getting out there and feeding people or just interacting with people that are really really in need, you realize how enormous the problem is right in our backyards in any city probably in this country, and that hopefully will be something that we can overcome. But it's a lot of work to do.
You're a
Thank
man,
you
my
for
brother.
having me.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
Appreciate it.
You
Have a good
got the
weekend
great
too.
Mark Birnbaum. Thank you so much. Catch Hospitality Group. Check them out. You know where they are. Everyone. Thank you, all of our friends that joined us there. Anytime you guys want to come on, just let me know. Love to do that. Got a few questions to go through before I go join my family for a little Saturday night. The great Mark Birnbaum, thank you again. Take on a question or two. Let's get right to the most important question of the night. McGregor? Yes, McGregor. You got it. McGregor tonight, all McGregor, and have that. Everybody has the best. How about this? Best prediction you ever made. The best prediction I ever made. When I was 5 years old, I said I was going to be rich, and I manifested it. And when I lost everything, I said it's not going to take me but weeks to make my first million. Those were two really important to me predictions because they were personal to me and I had control over them. What are you most excited about in 2021? I'm most excited about, oh my gosh, the content I'm providing, the mission of empowering people to be happy, the numbers of people that are downloading the playbook and going to the trainings for free and reading my books for free, guides, exercises for free, watching 2-minute drill and elevator pitch, the shows that I do. All of it excites me because I think that it transforms people and empowers them simply to be happy, to create abundance in their life. I try to make sure everything I do has that message, to be abundant, to live in a world of more than enough, like Mark is, more than enough of everything for everyone to come through you, not to you or for you as a victim or as a scarce participant in your own life. What social media you recommend us to start with? I love Clubhouse, man. It's just easy. It's all voice, all easy, but Instagram's great. LinkedIn, if you're a business person, is my favorite. If that's where you want to be. But just start with one. Crawl before you walk, before you run. You'll be fine. If anybody wants to join my community, it's 949-298-2905. If you want my books, exercises, guys, I'll send you my book. I'll sign it. I'll ship it, pay for it for free. Just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Download the playbook. It has celebrities, athletes, entertainers, media, entrepreneurs, billionaires, millionaires. Tillman Fertitta, who wrote the foreword to my book and is an unbelievable entrepreneur. He's on there. Ryan Serhan is on Clubhouse with me Monday. Look at that. The millionaire listings superstar and sales expert. Just so many different things we can learn together. I try to keep it all free. Just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'm happy to send it. Go Spotify, Entrepreneur, search the playbook, download it, share it, like it. You got all of my trainings on there for free. I got free training courses for you. Let's empower each other. I have some great lessons to learn. I paid a lot of dummy tax, and I can't pay your state or federal tax, but I'll pay your dummy tax for you. All right. So we got Harpreet Rai from Aura Ring. Oh, the Aura Ring guy's on Playbook today. 7 days a week, over 600 episodes. Don't miss it. All right, everyone. It's Saturday. You want to hang out with me anymore. What a great guest. Mark, thank you again. Jason, thank you. The other Mark, thank you for joining us. Ralph, thank you as well. David@dmeltzer.com for the training courses, books, exercises, guys. David, it's pinned below at dmeltzer.com. 2-minute drills on Amazon. It's on Bloomberg TV. Check it out. 2-minute drill. It's my new show. 3 episodes are out. 12 are coming. all 12 will be seen, and then we're taking tryouts for season 2. $50,000 of cash and prizes. So if you're sitting around wondering about your business, go ahead. Great thing to do. Shabbat shalom, Jake. Thank you so much. Colleen, I hope you're having a great weekend. You're an incredible person, and I'm so grateful that you're in my life. Colleen runs my company, and she's incredible. David at dmeltzer.com. Remember, everybody, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 a.m. for Miles Graham. Check it out. We got the king, Miles Graham, 8 a.m. tomorrow. Meet me here. Thank you.